Okay, let's see if I have better luck this time and whether it is appearing on the newsfeed.
So you're not?
No.
Actually, let me try the email.
Okay, that seems to be working a little bit better now. So, let me just introduce myself again. So I am Harriet. I'm a dance teacher, fitness instructor, mindfulness coach, and owner of Strong and Perfect Mind. And you are part of the Health and Happiness Workout Group. That is where I'm kind of like creating a little bit of a community for all you guys to get stuck in and support each other. So partly I wanted to do this Facebook Live video because it's a great way for me to kind of connect with you guys on a bit more of a personal level rather than just typing messages into the internet. So I think there might be like a little bit of a delay between what I'm recording and what you guys are seeing. So if you do send any comments, then it might take like a little bit of time for me to get them through, but I will answer them as soon as I can. So just bear with me. Oh, hello Emily, thank you for joining. Okay, so my idea today is to talk to you guys a little bit about emotional eating or comfort eating. So kind of what it is, why we do it, and kind of also going to talk to you a little bit about how our brains are wired and what that means when it comes to making and breaking habits, and also a little bit about mindful eating and how that can kind of help curb cravings a little bit there. So does that sound good? Cool. Okay, I'm going to get started, I think. So first of all, emotional eating is kind of like the sciencey, more technical term for comfort eating, and I'm sure we all heard of comfort eating and indulge in comfort eating perhaps from time to time. I will probably refer to this term either as emotional eating or as comfort eating, kind of chop and change a little bit, but they basically mean the same thing. Okay, so I have chosen this topic today partly because a few people have kind of asked me about it, commented about it in the past, and also because I know it's something that affects all of us at one time or another, particularly us women, especially around that time of the month. So first of all, pop in the comment box for me if A, you ever get food cravings, and B, what kind of things are your go-to comfort foods? Like, what are your killer comfort foods? And let's see whether we maybe have the same ones. Cool. Okay, so what is emotional eating? Basically, emotional eating is when you use food and eating as a way of dealing with difficult emotions and maybe kind of negative emotions. So that might be whether you're feeling down or stressed or lonely or even bored sometimes. And maybe something in your life triggers one of those negative emotions. And our automatic response is to turn to food kind of as a source of comfort to make us feel better. And those triggers, I mean, they can be anything really. Anything from work stress to relationship issues. You know, you've had a particularly bad day, or even just kind of like tiredness, feeling a bit groggy. And of course, you know, being on your period, that can also trigger these kind of negative emotions. And it's a really totally super common thing for us to suffer from. I know that for me, particularly around the time of the month, I know that I'm about to start my period when I start craving chocolate and chips and things like that. And I think, you know, being a little bit mindful has really helped me be aware of kind of how I'm feeling and to kind of just be able to control those cravings just a little bit more than maybe I used to be able to. So kind of, I just want to put a little disclaimer out here at the moment because I don't want to give you guys the idea that eating specific foods are like inherently bad. So, you know, eating chocolate or eating cheese or whatever is not a bad thing. And the same goes for maybe having a pizza as a treat or a reward or a celebration every now and then. It's fine. It's completely fine for you to do that. But what you do need to be aware of is kind of just making sure that that kind of emotional eating, it doesn't become your body's go-to response to any sort of negative or difficult situations. Like you're not kind of triggering yourself every time you feel a certain way, then you eat a pizza, because that's when the problems happen. That's when we kind of get these ingrained bad habits. Okay, so why do our brains respond this way? So there's a couple of important points that I want to make here. The first one is that we often have emotional eating kind of ingrained in us from a really young age. So from a young age, we kind of come to see food, particularly naughty food, so like cake and sweets and chips, that kind of thing, as a reward. So maybe, I don't know, this might ring a bell with you guys, but maybe your parents said to you that if you were well behaved, then you'd get some sweets. Or, for example, now this is one I definitely remember from my childhood, is if you finish all your food, if you finish all your dinner, then you'll get to have pudding. So you immediately have this kind of like behaviour reward being built up from a really young age, and that's kind of the first step on the road to emotional eating. And the second thing is that tasty food makes us feel good. And I don't just mean, oh my goodness, this pizza tastes amazing, yay. And what I mean is there's an actual physiological response that we get in our bodies as a result of eating these kind of foods. So if you think about the foods that we tend to reach for when we're in need of comfort, what kind of thing do they have in common? So for me, chocolate and chips and things, and I can see other people have mentioned cheese and crisps. Okay, so what do these foods kind of have in common? They have a high level of fats and or sugars, sometimes both, if you're thinking of chocolate. Now, according to Harvard Health, fat and sugar-filled foods kind of have this effect where they inhibit the parts of the brain that are related to emotions and stress. So they kind of like inhibit your stress. So it is immediately like soothing you in this way when you eat this kind of foods. And not just that, but they actually they release opioids into our brains, right? Yes, opioids. So this means the same active substance that you find in cocaine and heroin and those kind of narcotics. So it's not really a surprise that these foods make us feel good. So like in a way, we kind of need to view breaking this cycle of comfort eating, of cravings and stuff, in a similar way to kind of kicking a drug habit. Not that I have personal experience of this, but on a kind of like, on a neuroscience level, it's a really similar kind of process. And it all comes down to habits. Basically, the human brain is wired to kind of pay attention to previously pleasing activities, okay? So we get a rush of dopamine when we expect to receive a reward for a certain kind of behaviour. And our brains are super lazy. So they would rather create habits so that they're working on autopilot than have to do everything on a conscious level. So that means that it's sort of really easy, without even being conscious of it, that your brain becomes wired to get a reward of tasty food, yum, 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 as a result of a certain situation or a certain emotion. So our brains kind of like get into this habit and this loop whereby you feel a certain way, you have the food, you feel better. And that's quite a difficult cycle to break. And if you kind of ignore those cravings, so your brain kind of releases that nudge going, hey, this thing has happened, you're feeling this way, so I know that this is going to happen, but it's not happened yet. So it kind of goes, oi, and that's when cravings kick in. And obviously, that's when we're like, oh God, I really, really want this chocolate now. And so yeah, kind of our brains and bodies aren't really our best friends when it comes to emotional eating. But it's not all bad. There is a way to kind of create new habits that will help you be a little bit more mindful and kind of get your way out of this sort of cycle of emotional trigger, reward of food. So, first things first, what we need to do is we need to kind of recognize the trigger for your bad habit. So you need to become a little bit more aware of the reason why you're going, I want this cheese, or I want the crisps, because there is normally a reason behind it. It's not just yum. I mean, they are tasty, but there's normally kind of a low level reason behind our actions. And so kind of when you become aware, when you check in a little bit with your body and you're aware of that craving, it will help you to kind of rationalize it a little bit more. So you've got the craving. What you can do is you can say to yourself, right, am I actually hungry, for starters? Or am I maybe eating just because I'm bored? Because that is a completely, really, really common thing for us to do. We're bored, what can I do? I'm going to eat. So maybe have a little think about that. And then, can you put off eating that thing for 5 minutes? So, I really, really want to have this piece of pizza. Oh my God, I really want pizza. Okay, I'm just going to take a step back. I'm going to think about it for 5 minutes. And then that might give you the time that you need just to kind of check in with yourself and be aware whether you actually want that pizza, or whether there's another kind of reason behind wanting that pizza, and it can maybe help you make a rational decision about whether you really want that. And if you end up having the pizza or the cake or the whatever, that's fine, because you'll have a better understanding of kind of why you did it in the first place, and maybe set yourself up for a different result next time. So you kind of, the first time that you do it, it's going to be difficult. And then the times after that, it's going to be a little bit easier to kind of to check in, to kind of have a little think about what it is that you're putting into your mouth before you, because sometimes we just have that craving, we pick it up, we put it in our mouth without being conscious of it, and then it's too late, it's gone. So yes, and actually that leads me to my point that I wanted to make basically about mindful eating. So mindful eating is going to be something that really helps kind of control cravings and be a bit more aware of emotional eating. And I know this sounds a little bit woo, a little bit bullshit, but hear me out. Okay, so a question for you all. How often do you eat meals while you're doing something else? So that could be anything from watching TV to working at your computer during lunch at work, or even just on your phone while you're eating. Pretty often, right? I know that I am definitely guilty of this to some degree, because it's so tempting when you're watching dinner to just slump on the sofa and put on the latest episode of Game of Thrones or whatever, or just catch up on Instagram, and just kind of munch away at your dinner, but without really concentrating on what you're doing. So this is going to be my big takeaway for you guys today. I want you to try your best to eat at least one meal a day without any distractions, okay? So you're just eating, you're not doing anything else. And really take the time to savor your food, enjoy what you're doing, think about what you're eating. And this will have a kind of double effect, right? So it will help you slow down. So you're not going to be eating as fast. And that's a positive thing anyway for your digestive system and everything. But the second thing that's going to help you with is that particularly if you're trying to maintain your weight or maybe lose weight, this will really help, because by eating slower, you're going to end up eating less, because you give your body more time to release the hormone that tells your brain that it's full and stop eating, I'm full, I don't want any more. I've just had a question. Does it count if you're eating the meal with other people? Will the conversation be a distraction? No. I think eating a meal with another person is fine, but maybe talk a little bit about what you're eating, kind of discuss the food a little bit. Don't just have a conversation and just shove the food in at the same time. You still want to kind of have that mindful moment of looking at the food, enjoying the food. Okay, so basically, this kind of mindful eating has a positive effect on your physical health, because it will help you kind of be more aware of your emotions. So you're going to understand why you're eating a certain way or feeling a certain way, and so you'll avoid your cravings. And also you'll hopefully avoid the food spikes and crashes that you get, because with these kinds of food, particularly high sugar foods, what will happen is you'll get a big spike in your glucose and then a crash, and that will actually make your stress and anxiety much worse. So kind of this mindfulness will be really helpful to kind of curb those cravings and help your mental and your physical health. Okay, so let's just do a little recap. Guys, this is a really complex topic. There's loads of research that's been done on cravings, on habits, and the effect of food on our mood and stuff. This kind of really just scrapes the surface, but I hope that will kind of give you enough to kind of get going and make a few changes, a few lifestyle changes that will hopefully help you curb those cravings. So yes, okay, let me open it up to any questions that you might have. Oh, we've started eating at the table rather than on the sofa in front of the TV. Yes, well done, Emily. Excellent. That's fantastic. Okay, I'll just wait for a couple more minutes, see if there's any more questions that come through. And I shall take a moment to have some water. Okay. So let's just do a quick recap then. So emotional eating is the cravings you get for certain types of food as a result of difficult emotions or situations. Ooh, any advice for boredom eating? Distraction. First of all, ask yourself the question, because you're going to have that moment where you go, okay, I'm hungry, but actually, am I hungry? Why would I be hungry? Have I just eaten a meal? How long was it since I ate a meal? You kind of just need to give yourself a few moments to think it through. And then that will kind of help you decide whether or not you want anything. And the other thing, and this is something that my mum has always told me, is to have a glass of water before you have any food, because it might just be that you are dehydrated, and sometimes we get confused between dehydration and hunger. So those are my tips for boredom eating. Do you have any tips for healthy snacks? So many tips for healthy snacks. Off the top of my head, first of all, apple with a little bit of peanut butter, but be careful with the peanut butter because it's quite caloric. So I would maybe weigh it out, because I'm always surprised by how many calories is in quite a small amount. That's always really tasty. Also yogurt, like Greek yogurt with some seeds on top, is a really excellent snack. What you want to try and do is combine if you're having carbs, to always try and have a little bit of protein, because that again will help maintain your glucose level so you don't get the spikes and the drops. Cool. Okay, guys. I think we might leave it there. This has been fab. So, if you have any questions that kind of arise as a result of this that you think of later, maybe just pop them to me in the Facebook group in a comment, or if you'd rather just send them to me in person privately, that's fine too, and I should get back to you as soon as possible. And I will see you super soon for the next video. I think I'm going to be talking about motivation and kind of like how to get into the gym even if you feel knackered or it's rubbish outside, and that kind of thing. So, but as ever, if you've got any topic ideas, anything you want me to talk about, again, pop it in the Facebook group or send me a message. Cool. Thank you so much, guys. See you soon. Bye.